Hello and welcome to Views on News. I'm Jawad Tehami. Now we are going to talk about a very unique and a special relationship when it comes to interstate relations. Pakistan-China friendship has stood the test of time, and there is something very famous which is said about it, that Pak-China friendship is higher than Himalayas, deeper than the ocean, sweeter than honey, and stronger than steel. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan, in his recently published op-ed, has also expressed the same thing. And he said that Pak-China partnership is unparalleled among interstate relations. The history of our friendship is a unique account at unwavering mutual support, mutual trust, and mutual respect. And this particular thing comes just before when Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan is about to undertake a visit to China on the invitation of President Xi Jinping. And Prime Minister Imran Khan will be having this visit from 3rd of February to the 5th of February. In this particular visit, there would be a wide range of issues which will be discussed with the top Chinese leadership. And what exactly going to transpire out of this visit? We have made a report. Let's watch that report first, and then I'll be joined by an esteemed panel of the participants.
Prime Minister Imran Khan is visiting China from 3rd to 5th February 2022 to attend the opening ceremony of the Winter Olympics Games in Beijing. In this regard, Prime Minister Imran Khan on 26 January 2022 chaired a high-level meeting to discuss this upcoming visit to China. During the meeting, the Prime Minister was briefed on the ongoing conversation with the Chinese authorities on the projects in the fields of investment, trade, information technology and exports to enhance bilateral cooperation. The Foreign Office spokesman Asim Iftikhar on 29 January 2022 said that Prime Minister Imran Khan's upcoming visit to China would reinforce the strategic ties between the two countries and further advance the objective building of a closer China-Pakistan community with a shared future in the new era. The Foreign Office spokesman dispelled the impression of slowdown in China-Pakistan economic corridor and asserted that the multi-million-dollar infrastructure project is progressing well.
Well, you watched that comprehensive report regarding the upcoming visit of Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan to China. Two countries, the brotherly countries, who have shared a lot of things over the last 70 years, whether it be trade, whether it be many other areas. There has been cooperation in diverse fields between these two countries, and to delve deeper into what are those dimensions that has made this relationship between Pakistan and China strong over time with every single passing day. In fact, I'm joined in studio today by Mr. Shakeel Ramay, who is a senior economist. Thank you very much for your time at Views on News. So I'll begin the discussion with you. So we have seen that Pakistan-China happens to be a very unique relationship when it comes to interstate relations. That is exactly Prime Minister Imran Khan has written in his op-ed as well. It is time-tested, and it is all-weather friendship. How do you see the upcoming visit of Prime Minister Imran Khan to China in coming days?
If we look at the relationship, I just want to add one or two sentences on that. If we compare Pak-China relation and Pakistan relation with the rest of the world, so Pakistan-China relation, they have a distinguished character. So China always assisted Pakistan to go for the self-sufficiency, either in the field of economy or in the security. If you look, and the other countries, especially Western countries, they work with Pakistan to create the dependency on them. I gave one example and then move forward on them. So if we get the F-16, so even we have to purchase everything from them, and they can decide at any time, we will not sell you. But if we look at China, GF-17, so China help us to manufacture it in Pakistan. So that is a basic, you can say, the difference. One country always help us to go for the self-sufficiency, art of fishing. Others, they were trying to create the dependency. Now coming back to your question, so what we can expect. I think if we have to expect something, there are a few areas which I think the government will have to must take care. Number one, so as the Board of Investment being the Secretariat of the Industrial Cooperation they are talking about, so they are creating one-stop services for all type of investments. So investors can come at one place, they can get the facilities. But the real problem here is the ease of doing business. If we look at that, it takes 113 days to get electricity connection, almost 4 months. and it takes 125 days to get a construction permit and 105 days to get the registry. And if we go for the enforcement of the contracts, it takes 1076 days. That is the real problem. So we have to work on that government so they can bring the days to down. Because if you look at the UAE and the New Zealand and other countries, how many days it take to get the electricity connection within week or days? And we are taking 100 days, more than 100 days. So where investors will go then? If you look at the Vietnam and other body. One thing and second thing, our taxation system
Ramay,
is...
I'll come back to you with a couple of other points to be discussed in detail. Of course, there are a lot of other issues which need to be addressed, and Pakistan's government, especially led by Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, is really taking care of all those issues to be dealt with. I'm also joined by Mr. Parvez Jamil Mir, popularly known as PJ Mir, who is a senior journalist. Thank you for your time at PTV World as well. And Mr. Masood Khalid, the former ambassador to China, is also joining me in the show today. Thank you, both of you gentlemen, for your time as well. A highly anticipated visit of Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan to China in coming days. And we have seen over the years, for the last 70 years, both the countries have enjoyed a very unique sort of a relationship when it comes to the interstate relations. And that is what exactly has been expressed by Prime Minister Imran Khan in his op-ed as well. Mr. Mir, what do you have to say? What do you expect out of this particular tour in terms of the cooperation that could be strengthened in the coming days between China and Pakistan?
I think first of all we need to appreciate and applaud what China has done as far as the CPEC is concerned. I mean, it has shown respect, it has shown cooperation, and of course, it has shown to the rest of the world that what the Soviets have been trying since '79 to get access to the warm waters, China just had a fantastic line of diplomacy that without firing a single 9mm, it reached the ports of Gawada. Now that is in the larger and the best interest of this area. So I think China needs to be appreciated and commended for that. And then equally, I think our governments need to be appreciated as well. And in particular, the today's government, which is taking forward perhaps what the previous governments have been doing. So I think it's a great step. It's a good move. And particularly when we see from time to time these cold eyeballs from the West coming in on towards our area, I think China could steadfast with us, as you've rightly mentioned. It's been a friend in very, very bad times. I remember in 1971, when I was in the army, we didn't have any guns, and I was in a field regiment, and our guns had to be transferred off to East Pakistan. And believe me, Chinese guns came overnight, and although we weren't very well prepared, but at the same time, we had to deal and work with them. So I think, thank you, China, for what you have done for us. You're a good friend, but again, friendship, these things are political and diplomatic matters. I think interests are more important. What are China's interests? What are Pakistan's interests? And I think that we need to be handling with mutual respect and, of course, on equal terms. And here, I think if you compare the rest of the world, I think China has been very, very supportive of Pakistan.
China has been very much supportive with Pakistan over the years. Mr. Mir, your point is well taken. I'll move to Mr. Masood Khalid. Thank you for your time at PTV World as well. So you had been ambassador to China. You've seen it firsthand how this relationship actually works. When we talk about the flagship project, the CPAC of Belt and Road Initiative, there had been a lot of speculations regarding the completion of this project as well. There had been some naysayers when this project was about to be launched, and the kind of funding that was supposed to be coming in Pakistan in order to build that infrastructure, and China getting access to warm waters of the Arabian Sea. There were a lot of naysayers, and now recently we have seen a lot of speculations as well, which has categorically been negated by the Foreign Office spokesperson as well. And again, when we talk about the op-ed that has been written by Prime Minister, he says, quote, as the flagship project of BRI, CPEC has immense economic and strategic significance for our two countries, and CPEC has been instrumental in addressing Pakistan's atomic chronic energy crisis as well. So, Mr. Khalid, how do you see this particular CPAC, which happens to be the flagship project of BRI, developing? And what do you say about those naysayers and those people who are speculating the pace of it?
Well, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to say that despite challenges, despite the pandemic, CPAC has made steady progress. If you, analyze it and see it objectively, then CPAC has given us some tangible dividends over the past 5 or 6 years. If you look back, 6 years ago, we were facing a serious energy problem, serious energy shortfall. And now you are practically surplus. You didn't have this transmission line more than 800 kilometers from Lahore to Matiari. You have that now. Then some major infrastructure and transportation projects have been completed in a record time, despite difficulties and challenges. And one must bear in mind that this is a mega project comprising several projects entailing different sectors, industry, transportation, and power sector. So it was not an easy task for both sides to get into it and develop projects and, sort of see whether they were financially and technically feasible. So that took some time. Of course, COVID affected that a bit. But I was listening to the planning minister today, and I was heartened to note that he gave a very optimistic picture. Some of the bottlenecks and the shortcuts, the lacunas which exist. He told the TV show that the government was earnestly, addressing those issues, and there has been some progress. So I think this is a good message which the Prime Minister will be able to deliver when he meets the leadership. Now, as far as the naysayers are concerned, the critics, we ought to understand there's always skepticism. Some is based on, half-baked information, misinformation, and some is deliberate and willful. And the forces and the elements which are engaged in creating suspicion and misperception about this project, because they realize, as you said, that Pakistan-China relationship is very unique and special. And of course, those forces which are opposed to this relationship, they will try to do everything to undermine this project and create misgivings between Pakistan and China. So we know that a lot of propaganda is going on West and our,
a lot of propaganda is also going on. There is a sinister design to launch a campaign against such a huge project that has so many dividends. Mr. Khalid, your point is well taken. Mr. Mir, you are associated with media. There is often we talk about the fake news and the rumors and the perception that is being built, especially by those countries which happen to be adversaries of Pakistan, and they've time and again tried to point fingers on a project such as CPAC and BRI, and they never happen to be the part of the BRI conference as well. What options do you think Pakistani authorities do have in order to counter that propaganda, especially when Prime Minister Imran Khan talks about the significance of these projects in terms of uplifting the standard of living of the people of Pakistan, job creation, and that building of the infrastructure that will have long-term dividends?
Well, you see, since the incumbent Prime Minister has been in power, I think his main role and perhaps time has been spent in creating, these misperceptions into something like myths, because Pakistan has been a victim of misperceptions, wrong information, and of course, a negative propaganda throughout the world. And Prime Minister played a very important role, particularly in his visit to the General Assembly, where he made things absolutely crystal clear, the repercussions, and of course, the dangers which follow. So I think here in this particular visit, what the Prime Minister will be reiterating his commitment as far as friendship, bilaterals, and others even more stronger, and strengthening our relationship as to perhaps what our previous leaders have been doing it in Pakistan. So this shows a unity as far as Pakistan's foreign policy is concerned, because it's very simple. Since 1947, our foreign policy has been peace, tranquility, and of course harmony within the region. And that is what the Qaid has clearly mentioned, when we got independence. But over a period of time, I regret to say, it's sad, and Ambassador, I'm sure, will agree that India has played a very negative part as far as playing this negative role. Even though we are neighbors, instead of supporting us, as an elder brother, I think they have been playing a rather negative role in the region. I mean, they're playing on both the sides, while we know who our friends are, we know who our interests are, and it's high time that our old friends, like in the West, must realize that enough is enough, and you can't just carry on bullying Pakistan, you can't carry on dictating Pakistan, and you can't carry on basically to do more. So I think here we've got a good ally in China, and of course in the same
We've
breath,
got a very good ally, and we really need to impress. Pakistan really needs to impress upon the international community, especially the Western powers, to stop bullying Pakistan. And in this time of test, China happens to be a very good friend of Pakistan that has always supported Pakistan on a number of issues. When we talk about the Kashmir dispute, as well as the situation in Afghanistan, of course these issues are going to be discussed during this tour as well. Mr. Ramay, when we talk about specifically the CPAC, of course there are elements who are trying to create a negative perception about the completion of this project. Naturally, when there happens to be such a humongous project, obviously it takes time. There are a lot of problems on the way as well, because nothing is that smooth that comes so handy for you, because there have to be a lot of things. I've got the list of the projects which have been completed on the CPAC so far. That includes the Sahiwal coal-fired power plant that will generate 1,320 megawatt of electricity. The China Hub Coal Power Project, Hub Balochistan, KKH Phase 2, Havelian to Thakot section 120 kilometers, Peshawar-Karachi Motorway, Multan-Sakkar section 392 kilometers, cross-border optical fiber 820 kilometers, Punjab to Rawalpindi, Hakla DI Khan Motorway. These are the completed projects. Now, there are certain other big mega projects under the umbrella of CPAC which are underway. Habkothar Coal, Sukhi Kinari Hydro Power Project, Yob Quetta, Khuzar Basima Road. I mean, there's a lot which is happening. So why such speculations? Why there is a sinister, would you not call it a sinister design to just undermine such a humongous project which has got the human development at its very core as a goal?
I think there are 2 or 3 things which we have to really work on. Number one, so when we look at the list, it's a quite large list. It is not only about these projects, but also about the capacity building and about the job creation to these projects. I'll give you 2 examples. For example, from the Port Qasim coal power plant. So they trained 600 engineers. 600 engineers is a big number, and 2,000 staff. They trained. I'm not talking about employment. Employment is more. Then again, if you look at Sahiwal, they trained 245 engineers. If you look at our structure of the training, so that is a huge contribution. The real problem is Pakistan at this point of time, we are working on a disinformation policy. We are in the reactor mode. If somebody creates disinformation, we just reply. We need to shift. We need to go to the information policy. We need to create the evidence which you are talking about. We have to share not only about these name of the project, but their employment, their social benefit, their training benefit, their income benefit, and their benefit to target the poverty. Like what is happening in Thar. So those projects really help Pakistan to tackle the poverty in Thar. Thar once was known for the hunger and the dying of the kids. Right now they are talking about the energy hub and these all things. Number of things are happening. So here Pakistan need to work on the comprehensive information policy. Pakistan need to come into the proactive mode. Reactive mode will not serve, because when you are replying to some disinformation, that means you are become part of that campaign, because you have to reply. If you don't reply, then it is true. If you reply, then you are becoming the part of that campaign. So best choice is come into the proactive mode. One thing. Second thing, the global agenda. There is one thing we need to understand very clearly. USA will never stand with Pakistan. It has very strong economic rationale. It's not a strategic. It has very strong economic rationale. What is that rationale? China and US, they're fighting with each other. Trade war, economic sanctions, companies, everything happened. So China is going to concentrate on its own domestic market. China is a market of 1.4 billion consumers. On contrary, US has a market of 334 million. Where is a million, where is a billion? A huge difference. More than 1 billion difference. One thing. Second thing, up to 2035, so China is going to graduate 600 million people to the middle class. The process has been started already. From the report of HSBC, they have given us the number. So up to 2025, 160 million people will be graduated to the middle class. When they will be graduating, so if there is an increase of $20 for every day of this middle class, it will give a push of $1.1 trillion to the economy per year basis. That's
very important stats you are sharing at the moment. Mr. Khalid, a very important point raised by Mr. Ramay. It is the economic war between the US and China, and the US for the number of years now we've seen it's been relentlessly trying to contain China by different means. That maximum pressure policy we have seen, it is trying to ally with India over here in this region as well in order to contain China. On the other hand, Pakistan seems to be steadfast when it comes to its relation with China, because Pakistan's Prime Minister has a number of times and very categorically also said that Pakistan can offer its good offices to mediate, to resolve the issues between the US and China. However, it will not become the part of any bloc. And he also said what he termed that Pakistan can help in order to avert the potentially new Cold War. So that is exactly the position Pakistan has. Do you see that strains Pakistan's relations with the US when it comes closer to China?
Well, I think it's a pity that the two largest economies of the world, which are so interdependent and interlinked with each other, they have, they have now come to such a pass where this competition, this strategic rivalry is ongoing. Of course, the world would want any stability in their relationship. But the given fact, the given situation is that there is now the lines have been drawn. And not just economic warfare, but I think there's a military competition, a strategic competition which is taking place. And if you see war theaters or conflict zones, potential conflict zones in China Sea, South China Sea, and on the Taiwan issue, there are potential flashpoints between the two countries. We hope that conflict will not erupt and there's some kind of modus vivendi worked out. Well, despite that, I think Pakistan is in a unique position because Pakistan has been in the past eye of the United States. Pakistan has been a partner to Centro. You all know the history. And now Pakistan is much strategically tilted towards China because we have a very diverse and a very broad-based relationship with China. In a number of vital areas. And then cooperation, economic cooperation, what to talk of CPAC. CPAC has added a new dimension to this cooperation, strategic partnership. And China is very supportive. If you, I would like to share with the audience one is, after the fall of East Pakistan in 1971, when then President Bhutto visited China in 1952, Chinese Premier Zhou Enlai publicly told him in his speech that Pakistan can defer the repayment of Chinese loan, which we had borrowed at that point in time, for 10 years. And even after 10 years, if Pakistan is not able to pay, then another 10. And if Pakistan is not able to pay back in 20 years, then we can talk of payment at the turn of the century.
It can be further extended, of course. That speaks
this is the
volumes
kind of
about a
relationship.
very unique relationship.
Unique and based on mutual trust and mutual respect. Mutual trust and mutual confidence is extremely important in this relationship.
Okay, so Mr. Mir, when we talk about the economic warfare that we see happening between the two major leading economies in the world, the US and China, then Mr. Khalid is also of the view, and then we have seen a couple of things happening between the two countries. I mean, the kind of military and the security overtures towards each other as well. But it doesn't happen to be restricted to that one only. When it comes to sports, there is a sort of a diplomatic boycott that has been announced, led by the US alliance, which include the countries like the UK, Canada, Germany, Lithuania, and a couple of other countries. Now, Beijing Winter Olympics are going to be held. They are going to be officially started from the 4th of February, and Pakistan's Prime Minister, of course, is over there to attend the inaugural session of that sporting event as well. But on the contrary, Western powers have announced the diplomatic boycott of that. Now, Foreign Minister Qureshi has said that Pakistan is there to express its solidarity with the people of China. Now, why do you think that there is such an aggressive posturing by the Western powers when it comes to even the sporting events, which has the spirit of sportsmanship, and that exactly has also been said by French President Emmanuel Macron, that I don't think we should politicize these topics. Do you think politicization of Olympics by Western alliance is justified?
I think it's a bit harsh what the West is doing to the Olympics, because Olympics, it's a global event. It goes through various countries and various continents, and to make it into a political, I guess, dilemma is not something which the world needs, not at this particular moment anyway. But from a Pakistani perspective, I think what I see is that at least the government is shedding off that client image, that client state image. It is shedding this image off that, if you go to China, perhaps somebody else might get affected. I think that's a good step. And this also serves as a warning shot economically and otherwise to the rest of the world, even though we're the biggest exporters to the United States and, of course, second highest exporter to Great Britain. But this is also a message that you cannot continue like this and into causing that if you go there and, we might do this and do that, which I certainly hope American, sincere diplomacy won't, do it. But these are what you call international tactical pressures. And Pakistan is not coming into any of those. And coming particularly specifically to this visit, I think what we need to do, what America has gone through and had a hue and cry under Trump, was that because consumerism has been taken over in the world by China. And why? Because obviously it's got the labor, it's got cheap labor, and it produces excellent goods. So this is, which was a worrying factor for the Americans, and this can be a worrying factor for us. Rather, it is a worrying factor for us that we would like, and I'm sure the Prime Minister will be talking along with his economic advisor, that China it should set up industry here in Pakistan, and that we've got the labor, we can train them, you can send trainers for us, we can train them. So that will create, as what we talk of, employment in the area. And this is what is very important, because initially, as you see, the shoe industry has gone down the drain and various other industries have because of our imports from from China. But as you grow old in your friendships, as you strengthen your friendships, then supply and demand need to be, I would dare say, rectified on both the sides. Because China does appreciate Pakistan's economic conditions and, of course, has always been a great help to Pakistan. But here, we have to look at our interests, and China has to look at their interests. So, economically, I think the industry which we would be looking forward to is that we use our own manpower in it.
Mr. Mir, while you clear your throat, I'll go to Mr. Ramay. Do you think this diplomatic boycott by the Western alliance is justified? And Pakistan's Prime Minister, as Mr. Mir just alluded to the fact that Pakistan is trying to dispel that notion that we'll be getting the dictation if the Western powers want according to their own whims and wishes, has categorically said that sports should be a unifying factor and should transcend politics.
I think coming to you at this question, I just want to clarify one minor thing. So when I was talking about in my previous answer, so US need India because India has a market of 1.35 billion people. So Pakistan, whatever do, US will not stand with Pakistan. US will stand with India. This is economic rational. And coming back to you, I think it is the most unfortunate. But look at the allegations. What they're putting in the allegations? Xinjiang, human rights. Are the Americans they are concerned about the Muslims' human right?
Exactly. That is exactly what
No,
Prime Minister
not
Imran
at
Khan
all.
said about.
No, not at all. They killed hundreds and thousands of people in Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya. They are also involved in the Syria, everywhere. What is happening in Palestine? What is happening in Kashmir? Are they talking about the human rights? No. And on other side, Xinjiang, there is no human right violation. They are the centers which are created for the skill development. By the way, skill is very important for China. If there is a misperception among the people, there is a cheap labor, that's why people go to the China. No. If you listen to the Apple CEO of Apple, he was saying, no, it's not a cheap labor. It's a skill set of China which compel us to work in China because we cannot find that skill set anywhere in the world. When we are talking about to bring industry to Pakistan, we have to first work on the skill set because industry needs the skills. If we are not able to provide them the skills, why they will be coming here? And politicizing this. So in this way, they wanted to get the 2 or 3 things. Number one, they want to blame through the allegation, baseless allegation of Xinjiang, so they can create a bad name from China. Second, they wanted to fail this Winter Olympics. And these Winter Olympics are unique from the previous Winter Olympics. Number one, it will use the 100% clean energy. 85% transportation would be the clean. That is entirely different from the past. They wanted to undermine these efforts. But Chinese are successful. They're bringing it, and it is well accepted fact. So sports are the mean of the, you can say, the peace and the stability. Like Commonwealth, they have created a group for the peace through the cricket. We can find the football. There are a number of examples we can find. They have created different things for the peace building. But on contrary, so there are some so-called champions of this world. So they're trying to create something.
They're trying to undermine the progress
peace,
China has made over the years. Again, this time the Winter Olympics are entirely different, as you mentioned.
One more interesting thing. I was just want to share
the clean energy is being used.
I just want to share one more interesting fact with you. There is a trade war going on between China and India. Oh, sorry, China and US. You know what was the trade between US and China this year? It observed 29% increase. In case of India, the Chinese trade with India was 125.6 billion. And the export of China to India was 98 billion US dollar.
I'll go to Mr. Khalid. Mr. Khalid, when it comes to the preposterous allegations that the Western media hurls against, or the Western authorities hurl against China of the human rights violations and abuses, and particularly they refer to Xinjiang, China has categorically denied this one, and that's what exactly Prime Minister Imran Khan a couple of days before, during his interaction with the Chinese journalist, said that Western media makes the headlines of the Uyghurs. When it comes to the human rights of Kashmiris, it ignores that dispute. It ignores altogether what is happening over there since the 15th of August, 3 years before, when there happened to be a curfew, and ever since there is a complete communication clampdown. Despite the COVID-19 pandemic, the people of Kashmir had been living in the world's largest prison. They've been suffering, they've been denied the healthcare facilities, they have been denied freedom of expression, they've been denied education, and every fundamental right has been snatched. But when it comes to the Western media, it doesn't talk about it.
That's right. That's right. I think we are all aware of the double standards and the duality of approach. We have seen that the Security Council resolutions on Kashmir are very much there, very much valid, very much on the statute of the United Nations, but they are not being implemented. So we are all aware of the double standards. Now, as far as China is concerned, basically the attempt is to encircle China militarily, diplomatically, economically, and to deny China the access to trade and technology. I think the Western countries may also try to, embarrass China during the Olympics. And Chinese authorities are aware of these designs and these attempts. And I'm sure they succeed in staging successful Olympics. But you must understand that bad mouthing of China, that mudslinging of China is part of this overall strategy of containment and encirclement of China, which has been now very well stated and presented as a strategy, as a national strategy of the United States. And of course, the United States is trying to form a coalition of like-minded countries, be in East Asia and Europe, which can, synchronize their voice with the United States, to sort of be part of this, containment drive. But I think that these attempts will not succeed because China is on the road to progress. China has, delivered in the last 40, 45 years what was impossible to contemplate or anticipate. Lifting nearly a million out of poverty is nothing but a miracle in contemporary human history. So I think China has, set very concrete and very, concrete national targets to be achieved by 2009 to make China into a very modern and prosperous society. And Mr. Ramay has given facts which speak for themselves as to the direction China is taking. So I don't think that these efforts succeed. In the end, this to encircle China and contain China's rise will fail. And this is what the Chinese leaders also say. Chinese leaders say that China is not a threat, China is not a hegemonic power, because China gains so much from international order. What China needs and China wants is its say and its legitimate rights protected in a global system. So that is what China wants. China does not want to displace the United States. China wants to be a sort of part of the United States in running this universe in terms of, with the help of other partners and countries. And this BRI initiative is also a reflection, a manifestation of that approach. And I think this is a win-win, approach which Chinese want. Chinese do not want to enter into any conflict, confrontation, or wars because China's entire focus is on economic development. That is their strategic priority. Now, as far as Pakistan is concerned, I would like to say that Pakistan has a unique opportunity in the form of CPAC to take full advantage of Chinese technology, investment, Chinese capital infusion, to develop its human resource capacity, to develop that skill set which is needed for the successful implementation of CPAC. And I think that we can really embark on the road to self-reliance. And this is what Chinese also want. Chinese do not want Pakistan to be dependent on them. Chinese are imparting this set to Pakistan through investment, through CPAC, so that Pakistan stands on its own feet in terms of industry, agriculture, science and technology. So I think we have a unique opportunity, and here is a
unique opportunity hands of Pakistan to
always help Pakistan. And I think so. We have this sure-footed relationship with China. I think
Mr. Khalid, your
CPAC
point
and
is
our
well taken. It's a unique opportunity
promise-
at the hands of Pakistan to take that benefit from the experience China has had over the years. That is what Prime Minister Imran Khan in his op-ed also says, that the Chinese economic model happens to be an inspiration which actually uplifted over 800 million people out of abject poverty. Mr. Ramay, when we talk about the bilateral trade volume between Pakistan and China, Prime Minister again in his op-ed has alluded to the fact that in 2021, it went to touch the record level, which was 24.23 billion US dollars, which is 57.83% increase from that of 2020. What were those factors which actually contributed to increase in the trade volume between the two countries?
I just shared with you the historical fact. In 1952,
unfortunately, we are very short of time, so if you can come out
quickly.
A little briefly.
Quickly. In 1952, there was the trade of between Pakistan and China was $86 million, and Pakistan export was $84 million. Pakistan was hugely in benefit. Here, so there comes, they have given us a special concessions, like rice, like other some products. They are asking us also to send them the meat and agriculture products, but we are unable to provide them foot and mouth disease-free meat at this point of the time. And one thing and second thing, CPAC, if we want to benefit from CPAC, we have to work on 2 or 3 things very quickly. Number one, tax system. Right now 35 agencies are involved and they have to run from door to door. Second, Prime Minister is going, he must carry with him special economic zone comparative analysis with other countries, with Vietnam, with Mexico, so they can convince their businessmen. So look, our better.
Mr. Ramay, your point is well taken. I would love to have discussed this in more detail, but unfortunately we are short of time. Mr. Shakeel Ramay, who is a senior economist, who is joining me in the studio, Mr. Parvez, Jamil, Amir, a senior journalist, and Mr. Masood, Khalid, former ambassador to China. He was joining us on Skype. Thank you, all of you, gentlemen, for your time at Views on News at PTV World. And indeed, Pakistan-China friendship has stood the test of time, and all eyes are set on the upcoming visit of Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan to China. So what exactly is going to transpire out of this particular tour? We'll be discussing that one in detail during that tour and after that tour as well. For that, stay tuned to PTV World. Until the next episode, it's goodbye from me and my entire production team. Thank you for watching.